She thought I was asleep. That's the only reason she whispered it. I heard her phone buzz at 2:09 a.m. Sharp little sound in the dark. She picked it up slowly, slid off the bed like she was tiptoeing past a bear, and padded across the carpet to the hallway. And then she said it. I miss you too. I can't wait until next weekend. You ever feel your chest go hollow? Like your ribs just caved in? I lay there in the dark, staring at the crack in the ceiling we never fixed, blinking hard because I wanted to believe I imagined it, that I dreamed it, that my wife of 15 years wasn't standing in the hallway at 2 a.m., whispering to someone else about next weekend while I was 2 feet away, slowly dying inside. But I wasn't dreaming. I got up an hour later, pretending to need water. She was back in bed, breathing heavy and fake. You know the kind. Overly slow, like a child pretending to sleep so they won't get caught. She had her phone under her pillow, something she'd never done before. I didn't touch it. Not that night. But everything shifted after that. She didn't know I heard. She went on with life like normal, smiling over coffee, asking if I fed the cat, texting at red lights. But I was unraveling. Quietly. Pathetically. I started noticing everything. She started wearing perfume again, a kind I'd never smelled. She changed the passcode on her phone. She even started going out on Wednesday nights. Who goes out on a Wednesday night? And every time I asked, she had a reason. Work dinner. Yoga class. Her cousin Ellie's bad breakup. Do you know how many breakups Ellie supposedly had that year? 5. But I never confronted her. Not once. I just started writing everything down. Not in a journal. That's too dramatic, even for me. I wrote it in my notes app. A little list. April 9th. Came home at 1:12 a.m. Said car broke down, no mechanic receipt. April 17th. Wine glass and sink. I don't drink wine. Said she had a headache. May 3rd. Work thing. Ended at 8. GPS says she left hotel at 11:42. Yes, I checked her GPS. I know how that sounds. But after you hear your wife whisper to someone else while she thinks you're asleep, something in you snaps. You stop caring about dignity. You just want the truth, even if it kills you. And then, the worst part. May 19th. Our anniversary. I made dinner. I lit candles. She texted at 6:23. Don't wait up. Stuck in meetings. No gift. No card. Not even a call. I sat at the table with 2 plates of cold pasta and a stupid bottle of wine I bought thinking maybe, just maybe, she remembered. I waited until 10, blew out the candles, and threw everything in the trash. And that night, as she came home humming like nothing was wrong, something in me quietly broke. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even ask where she was. I just started counting down. 5 weeks later, while she was at her company retreat, I packed 1 bag. Not even all my stuff. Just enough. I left my wedding ring on the nightstand, next to the anniversary card I had written but never gave her. Then I turned off my phone. I deleted my socials. I booked a bus. Not a plane. A bus. No one checks buses. I disappeared. No note. No confrontation. No fight. I didn't want her apologies. I didn't want her excuses. I wanted to become a ghost. And for 2 years, that's exactly what I was. But she didn't stay in the dark forever. Because 2 years later, she saw me again. And by then, everything had changed. The thing about disappearing is, it's not nearly as glamorous as movies make it seem. There's no dramatic storm, no echoing slam of a door, no last-minute airport sprint. For me, it was a Tuesday. Quiet. Windless. I left the keys on the kitchen counter, my wedding ring resting beside them like a gravestone. My old gray hoodie hung on the chair. I'd worn that hoodie on our honeymoon. I don't know why I left it there. Maybe I wanted her to feel something when she saw it. Or maybe I was just a coward who couldn't pack properly. I booked the first long-distance bus heading north. I didn't even know the final destination. Didn't care. Somewhere cold. I wanted cold. I needed the kind of air that hurt to breathe, maybe to remind me I was still alive, because inside, I wasn't so sure anymore. I turned my phone off halfway through the ride. Deleted every account. Bank, social, email. I became no one. Edgar Miles was gone. The first few nights in that dingy motel were brutal. You think disappearing gives you power, freedom. It doesn't. It gives you silence. So much silence, it starts to feel like it's screaming. I stared at the peeling wallpaper, wondering if she even noticed yet. Was she crying? Panicking? Or was she curled up in someone else's bed, laughing at how easy it was? The truth? I didn't even know if I wanted her to miss me. Part of me hoped she did. But the other part, the part that had died quietly over the last 2 years, just wanted to vanish so hard she forgot my name. I got a job under a fake last name at a mechanic shop outside a small town no one's heard of. I wasn't even good with cars. But I showed up early, kept my head down, and people left me alone. That was all I wanted. Nights were the hardest. I'd lie awake, thinking about the version of me she destroyed. The Edgar who brought her flowers for no reason, who learned how to cook Thai food just because she loved it, who built her a bookshelf from scratch one Christmas because she said she wanted to read more. That Edgar was dead, and no one seemed to notice. But here's the twist she didn't expect. Silence doesn't stay empty forever. About a year in, I started running. Not from her, but literally running. Every morning before the sun came up. 1 mile became 3, then 5. I stopped eating trash. I dropped 30 pounds. People started treating me differently. I grew out my beard, got new teeth, new glasses. No one called me tired or soft anymore. I didn't even recognize myself when I passed a mirror. Then came the job offer, completely random. A customer at the shop noticed how organized I was, how I handled chaos calmly. Turns out he ran logistics for a shipping company and needed someone to help streamline operations. Offered me a trial position on the spot. I said yes. I don't know why. Maybe because it sounded like a life. A real one. Not survival. Not hiding. 6 months into the new job, I had an apartment, a savings account, and people who respected me. Not for being a good husband. Just for being me. It was the strangest thing. I built more in 18 months alone than I did in 15 years with her. And that's when it happened. That's when Jenna found me. I still don't know how she did it. Maybe a private investigator. Maybe she followed some breadcrumb I missed. But one cold Saturday afternoon, I walked into a quiet coffee shop, and there she was, sitting at the corner table. Same blonde hair, same fake confidence in her eyes. But this time, she looked nervous. She stood when she saw me, whispered my name like it was a prayer or a curse. Edgar. I didn't answer. I just stood there, holding my coffee, heart slamming against my ribs like it was trying to escape my chest. She had no idea who I had become, and I had no intention of making it easy for her to find out. She reached out like she expected me to collapse into her arms, like I was still hers, like nothing had happened. And for a second, my breath caught, not because I missed her, not because I wanted her back, but because I couldn't believe how little she had changed. She still wore the same perfume, still tilted her head the same way when she said my name like it was some delicate thing, like she was still entitled to it. Edgar, where have you been? Her voice trembled like she was the one who'd been abandoned. I took a sip of my coffee and sat down slowly across from her, keeping my expression blank. I could feel every eye in the cafe flicker toward us, sensing the tension. She looked at me like she was trying to piece together a puzzle that didn't fit anymore. I wasn't the man who used to leave post-it notes in her lunchbox. I wasn't the man who used to rub her feet after long days and ignore my own needs just to keep her from spiraling. I'm not here for a reunion, I said flatly. So whatever you came to say it fast. She blinked, caught off guard. She probably expected tears, groveling, maybe a sad apology for leaving. She didn't expect this. Not the man sitting in front of her with shoulders straighter, voice firmer, eyes colder. I didn't know where you went, she said, voice shaking. I thought something terrible happened. I was going crazy. I almost laughed. You were going crazy while I was watching you lie to my face for a year? While you were sneaking around with some stranger? You had the nerve to think you were the victim? She dropped her gaze to her lap, cheeks flushing. It wasn't like that. Don't, I cut in. Don't insult both of us. There was silence. Heavy. Ugly. I ended it, she whispered. Months after you left. I couldn't do it anymore. It didn't mean what I thought it did. And when I realized what I lost, it was too late. I stared at her for a long time. I wanted to feel something. I wanted to feel anger, satisfaction, heartbreak, anything. But I didn't. It was like watching an old movie I'd seen 100 times, knowing how it ends. Why now? I asked. Why find me now? She looked up slowly. Because I never got to say I'm sorry. Because I never stopped thinking about you. And because, her voice cracked, you were the only person who ever really saw me. Who ever really stayed. And I destroyed it. I leaned forward, quiet. You didn't destroy it. You traded it. You weighed me against someone else, and you made your choice. And now you want to rewrite history because the consequences finally hit. Her eyes were glassy. Edgar, please. I don't care where you went or what you did. I just want to fix it. We can fix it. That's when I smiled, and not kindly. You're right about one thing. You don't care where I went. You don't know what I've had to rebuild, what I lost, what I had to become just to stop waking up with your name in my nightmares. You don't care about any of it. You just don't like that I'm okay without you. She flinched like I slapped her. But I wasn't done. Let me be clear, I said, standing. I didn't vanish because I was weak. I vanished because if I stayed, I would have broken myself trying to hold together something you already burned down. You don't get to ask for a second chance after the ashes settle. I left my half-finished coffee on the table and walked out. She didn't follow me. Not this time. But she wasn't done. Because a week later, she showed up again. And this time, she brought someone with her. I noticed them before I noticed her. I was leaving work early that day, head still buzzing from spreadsheets and deadlines, when I saw a familiar posture near the parking lot, shoulders slightly hunched, hands clasped too tightly, like someone bracing for impact. Jenna stood there, but she wasn't alone. Beside her was a woman in her late 60s, silver hair pulled back neatly, eyes sharp and restless. For a second, my brain refused to process it. Then it clicked, and my stomach dropped. Her mother. The woman who hugged me at our wedding and whispered, "Take care of her. She's complicated." The woman who sent me birthday cards long after Jenna stopped remembering them. The woman who once told me, during a rough patch, "You're the reason she doesn't fall apart." I almost turned around, but my feet didn't move. "Edgar," Jenna said carefully, like she was testing the sound of my name in public. "Please, just listen. 5 minutes." Her mother looked at me with an expression that wasn't anger or pity. It was something worse. Recognition. Like she already knew exactly how this story went. "You shouldn't be here," I said quietly. "Neither of you." Her mother stepped forward before Jenna could speak. "You don't owe us anything," she said. "I know that." I told her not to come. But she wouldn't stop crying. Wouldn't sleep. Wouldn't eat. She's been unraveling for 2 years, and She paused, swallowing hard. "I needed to see you. To see if you were real. Or if she imagined you." I let out a humorless breath. "Trust me. I'm real." Jenna's voice cracked. "Tell him," she whispered. Her mother closed her eyes for a moment, then looked straight at me. She didn't tell me the truth at first. About the affair. About how long it went on. I found out on my own. She turned to Jenna briefly, disappointment flashing across her face, then back to me. "And when I did, I told her she was going to lose you. That some things don't come back." Jenna's face crumpled. "Mom, please." "No," her mother cut in. "You begged him to stay once. I remember. You said he was boring. Predictable. Safe. And now you want him back because the chaos finally scared you." The silence that followed felt heavier than any argument we'd ever had. I should have felt vindicated. Triumphant. But all I felt was tired. "I didn't come to argue," her mother said softly. "I came to say thank you. You were good to her. Better than she deserved at the end. And I'm sorry she turned your loyalty into something disposable." Jenna stared at the ground like a scolded child. I'd never seen her look that small. "I don't need apologies," I said. "I need distance." Her mother nodded. "Then let me give you something instead." She reached into her purse and handed me a folded envelope. "She didn't want me to give you this, but you should have it." I hesitated, then took it. "What is it?" "Proof," her mother said simply. "In case she ever tries to rewrite what happened. In case she ever tells herself a version where you were the problem." Jenna's head snapped up. "Mom," but it was too late. I didn't open the envelope right away. I walked past them, past the parking lot, all the way home. I sat at my kitchen table long after dark, staring at that envelope like it might bite me. When I finally opened it, my hands started shaking. Inside were printed messages. Dates. Times. Photos I had never seen. Not just one man. Not just one mistake. A pattern. And suddenly, disappearing hadn't been enough. Because now I understood something that changed everything. And once you see the full truth, you can't unsee it. I didn't sleep that night. I must have read through the messages 100 times, each one worse than the last. There weren't just 1 or 2 slip-ups. It was a chain of betrayals spanning over a year. Different names, different dates, different cities. Some she'd met on work trips. One even on a so-called wellness retreat. She told me she was meditating in the mountains. In reality, she was sipping cocktails by a pool in Scottsdale with someone named Brent, who called her his favorite distraction. One message from her read, "He's asleep downstairs. I hate how easy it is to lie to him." That one nearly made me throw up. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the double life. The way she wore love like a mask, how she kissed me goodbye before walking straight into someone else's arms. It wasn't weakness. It was a choice. Repeated. Strategic. Shameless. And the worst part? I didn't even see it. Not because I was stupid, but because I trusted her. That kind of blind, pathetic trust you only give when you think someone would never want to hurt you. I sat in the dark till morning, the printed pages spread across my kitchen table like crime scene evidence. And honestly, that's what it felt like. Like I was looking at the ruins of a crime I hadn't realized I was the victim of. When the sun finally rose, I went for a run. No music. No destination. Just feet hitting the pavement, harder than usual. Rage in every breath. I didn't know what I was supposed to do now. I'd already left. I'd already disappeared. I wasn't trying to punish her. I just wanted peace. But this wasn't just betrayal. This was demolition. She hadn't just broken our marriage. She had erased it. The flowers, the anniversaries, the long talks at 2 a.m. when she cried about life, and I held her without saying a word. She'd buried all of that beneath strangers' bedsheets and pretty lies. And now she had the audacity to show up, weeping, saying she missed me? No. She missed the version of me who didn't know what she really was. By the time I made it back to the apartment, I had made a decision. I wasn't going to stay hidden anymore. But I wasn't going back to her either. I wanted closure. Real closure. Not a pathetic, teary apology in a coffee shop. I wanted her to feel it. To understand what it meant to burn down something irreplaceable. So I reached out to someone I hadn't spoken to in over 2 years. Her former best friend, Fiona. Now, Fiona and Jenna had a falling out just before I disappeared. It was messy. I never knew what it was about, but it ended with Jenna calling her a backstabber and blocking her on everything. I had stayed out of it. At the time, it felt like girl drama. But now, holding proof that my entire marriage was a fraud, I wanted answers. Real ones. I messaged Fiona with one sentence. I know everything now. I'm ready to talk. She replied in under 10 minutes. We met at a quiet diner on the edge of town, one of those places where nobody knows your name and the waitress calls everyone Han. Fiona looked surprised to see me, like she didn't expect I'd actually show up. You look different, she said. Better, actually. I feel worse, I muttered. She slid into the booth, not even touching her coffee. So, you found out. I nodded. More than I ever wanted. There was a pause. Then she leaned forward. She was with someone else while you were in the hospital, you know. I froze. What? Fiona's voice lowered. You remember when you had that emergency appendectomy? 3 years ago. She told everyone she stayed by your side all night, remember? I nodded slowly. That night had always seemed blurry. I was on pain meds, in and out of sleep. She was with a guy named Trevor, Fiona said. I know because she told me about it right after. Bragged about how bold it felt. Said the risk made it exciting. I sat there, staring at her, heart pounding in my ears. Fiona looked away. I never forgave her for that. That's why we stopped talking. I couldn't look at her without seeing what she'd done. I tried to reach out to you. She blocked me from everything. Said I was trying to ruin her marriage. For the second time in 24 hours, I felt the floor of my life split beneath me. I thought I had already seen the worst of it. I was wrong. And Fiona wasn't done talking. Because what she told me next changed everything I thought I knew, not just about Jenna, but about someone else in our lives who'd been part of this the whole time. Fiona stared at her untouched coffee, fingers tracing the rim of the cup like she was still debating whether to say it. I could feel it, the weight of whatever was coming. Something worse than I already knew, and that terrified me more than anything. Because if this was the stuff Jenna hid from her best friend, what the hell had I missed? Then Fiona finally looked at me and said a name I hadn't heard in years. Colby. I blinked. Colby? My coworker Colby? Fiona nodded slowly. Not just your coworker. Your friend. The one who came to your house all the time. The one who helped you build that backyard shed. I could feel my throat tightening. What are you talking about? She used to text him, Fiona said. A lot. And not just innocent stuff. It started after that charity gala, remember? The one where you got food poisoning and went home early? Yeah. She stayed. With Colby. My hands curled into fists. That night, she came home late. Said she'd stayed to help clean up. I remember even thanking her for being so thoughtful while I was curled up in bed, sweating through a fever. I thanked her. Fiona hesitated. I only found out because she accidentally sent me a screenshot of a message meant for him. It said, "Wish it were you I came home to tonight." She unsent it a minute later and pretended nothing happened. I felt sick. Not just because she cheated. Not just because it was someone close. But because Colby had looked me in the eyes. He'd eaten at my table. He'd laughed with me while holding a beer I handed him. Did it go on for long? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Fiona's eyes were full of something like guilt. A few months, I think. Until she found someone else who gave her more attention. She used people like batteries, Edgar. Once they stopped charging her ego, she moved on. I sat back in the booth, breath shallow. My mind raced with memories, moments I had interpreted as harmless. The lingering hugs, the inside jokes, the time I walked in on them laughing in the garage, and she got flustered. I thought it was nothing. It wasn't. Fiona reached into her purse and pulled out a flash drive. I saved everything. Screenshots, photos, messages. I didn't know what to do with it back then. But maybe, you should see it for yourself. I didn't want it. I didn't want to know more. But I took it anyway. As we left the diner, Fiona touched my arm. She'll try again. I know her. When she sees she can't get to you emotionally, she'll go for guilt. Or shame. Or nostalgia. But she doesn't love you. She just hates not being the center of your life. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Because deep down, I knew Fiona was right. And as much as I wanted to walk away for good, I had one more thing to do. Something Jenna never saw coming. It took me 3 days to open the flash drive. I kept it in the drawer next to my bed like it was some kind of bomb, half afraid that once I looked, I'd never be able to go back to feeling even remotely okay. But when I finally clicked through the folder, I realized something strange. I wasn't surprised anymore. Disgusted? Yes, but not surprised. There were screenshots of messages between her and Colby that made my skin crawl. Things she'd said to him while I was downstairs making her tea. Photos of them together in public, restaurants, parks, even our local hardware store. She'd smiled at him the way I used to dream she'd smile at me. And worst of all, she had talked about me like I was a burden. Like I was dead weight. The man who meant well, but didn't make her feel alive. That was the line that finally snapped something in me. Because I had bled for her. I had spent years putting her before everything. Before myself. Before rest. Before happiness. And this was what it amounted to. Didn't make her feel alive? Fine. If she wanted to know what alive looked like, I'd show her. I reached out to someone I trusted, my old mentor, Daryl. He was the kind of man who always said what he meant and never sugarcoated a thing. He'd been offering me a consulting job for over a year now, something far beyond what I thought I deserved. But suddenly, I wanted it. I wanted to rebuild in the light, not the shadows. The very next week, I gave notice at the shipping company, packed my things, moved to a city where no one knew my past, and my future was mine alone to build. And then I did the one thing I told myself I'd never do. I let Jenna find me again. Not by accident this time. Not by chance. I sent her a single message. If you want closure, meet me Friday. 6 p.m., we're the truth. I didn't know if she'd show, but she did. She walked into the rooftop bar wearing the same red dress she wore on our 10th anniversary. The one she said made her feel dangerous. She looked almost exactly the same, but I didn't. I saw it in her face the second her eyes landed on me. I wasn't Edgar, the doormat, the background character in her spotlight. I was something else now. Someone else. You look different, she said quietly. Better, I replied. She sat down slowly, clutching her bag like it might save her. Why did you want to see me? I stared at her for a long moment before speaking. Because I needed you to see what survived you. Her breath caught. That's not fair. No, I cut her off. What's not fair is 15 years of loyalty being turned into a joke. What's not fair is being humiliated by the people I trusted most. And what's really not fair is you trying to spin it into some sad romance story now that your fantasy life collapsed. Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't care. Not anymore. You didn't just cheat, Jenna, I said. You replaced me in every way. And when I finally left, you weren't sorry. You were exposed. That's why you came back. Not because you love me. Because you don't love being alone. She opened her mouth to speak, but I wasn't done. I forgave you, I said. Not because you asked for it, but because I didn't want to carry you anymore. And now I'm done with this chapter. You don't get access to who I am now. You lost that. You traded it for cheap attention and lies. So consider this the final goodbye. I stood, walked to the edge of the rooftop. looked out over a city she'd never belonged to. And for the first time in years, I felt free. But that wasn't the end. Because one more twist was waiting. One I never saw coming. I didn't look back when I left the rooftop. Her voice didn't follow me. No running footsteps. No last-minute apologies. Just silence. And it was beautiful. For once, it didn't feel empty. It felt earned. I walked 3 blocks to my new apartment, the one with high windows and no ghosts in the walls. My bag was already packed. I wasn't running. I was moving forward. And this time, I wasn't dragging a past that never loved me. The consulting role with Daryl turned out to be more than just a job. It became a doorway into a life I never imagined I was allowed to have. I traveled. I worked with people who respected me. I got invited to rooms I never would have entered before because someone always told me I wasn't ambitious enough. Jenny used to say I played it safe. Truth is, I was just waiting for permission to want more. And now I gave that permission to myself. 6 months later, something unexpected happened. I met someone. Her name was Elise. Not flashy, not loud, not someone who dominated every room, but someone who noticed. She noticed when I was quiet. She noticed when I got overwhelmed. And she never made me feel like I had to shrink to keep her interested. I didn't tell her everything right away. I wanted to heal before turning my pain into a conversation piece. But when I finally told her what happened, about Jenna, about how I disappeared, how I became someone else just to survive, she didn't flinch. She looked me in the eye and said, "I'm proud of the version of you that saved himself." We didn't rush anything. That was the beauty of it. We took long walks, cooked together on rainy nights, shared quiet without needing to fill it. I realized I didn't need fireworks or chaos. I just needed peace. And now I had it. Jenna tried reaching out one more time. A short email. No drama, no begging. Just one line. "I saw a photo of you smiling. I'm glad you found something I couldn't give." I didn't reply, because she was right. I found more than closure. I found me, and he was worth waiting for.